Hello and welcome back to Helinika's YouTube channel. My name is Marielena and I post videos on the Greek history, language and culture. So if you're interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe and check some of my other videos. Well, today I thought that an interesting way to get some indirect information about the Greek culture would be if I mention some things that I thought were universal while growing up, but once I started traveling around and finally when I moved from Greece to another European country, I realized that they're not as common as I thought they were, and I've only witnessed them happening in Greece. Now I'm sure that there are other countries in the world that have some of these things that I will be mentioning, so feel free to leave a comment down below if they also happen in your home country. So the first thing is way too specific, and it has to do with gas station employees. Because in Greece, every gas station always has an employee that is hired for pumping gas for you. And I thought this is a universal thing, that it happens everywhere, but apparently it doesn't. Because everywhere I've been in Europe and in the United States, people pump their own gas. Then they get a receipt and they get into the mini market of the gas station and they pay. In Greece, you never exit your car, you sit there the whole time, someone approaches you, you say how much gas you want to have, and then they give you the receipt and you pay. And you're done. So this first point leads me to the second point, which is a general lack of self-service and self-checkout stations in stores. Customer service is taken very seriously in Greece, and it's very unlikely that restaurants, bars, cafes, supermarkets and other types of stores don't have a great amount of employees for every single need that you have. And to this day, wherever I've been in Greece, I've never witnessed a self-checkout counter. Now, the third thing is related to water, because in Greece, wherever you go to a restaurant, a bar or a cafe, you're always provided with a glass of plain water, usually tap water. Maybe this is related to the climate, because in Greece it can get really hot, and for me, personally, it's almost impossible to order if I don't get hydrated after walking around with 40 degrees in the summer. But what I've noticed is that this is not a very common thing to do in other parts of the world. In German-speaking countries, for example, you have to pay for the water, even if it's from the tap. You also have to ask for it, and it's also quite weird to do so. Drinking plain water is generally weird in most European countries. You usually add bubbles in it, some flavors, some slices of lemon, mint, anything that it makes it appear as if it's not from the tap. But I think most Greeks will agree with me that there is nothing better than a plain glass of water, that it's cold but it's not full of ice cubes either, especially if you're very thirsty. If I'm thirsty, I can't drink beer or anything that will make me more dehydrated than I was before. Now, the fourth thing was not a huge surprise, but actually I was still surprised when I found out that it's not common everywhere. And this has to do with pedestrian lanes. I've mentioned in previous videos that if you ever visit Athens, be extra careful when you cross the street, because pedestrian lanes are more like a decoration. They don't necessarily mean that the car that is approaching will stop. Well, the truth is that most young drivers today have changed their attitude towards pedestrians, but I would still suggest that you don't risk it. And although I had heard before that in other parts of Europe, pedestrian lanes are actually pedestrian lanes, and even if there is no pedestrian around, cars still slow down and stop whenever they see them, I was still very surprised to see that. Now, the fifth thing that I've noticed that is very Greek specific is a little bit random, and it has to do with oregano. We put oregano on every single thing. because I think it's one of our most used spices after salt and pepper. Now, the last thing that I want to be mentioning today that is very Greek is how indirectly we communicate with others. I mean, I knew about this theoretically, but I've never really noticed the differences until I completed 3 years abroad. If you have watched my video on the Greek culture, then you know that the Greek culture is a high context culture, which means that body language and the pitch of your voice and so many other subtle things are more important than the words itself when you communicate the message. For example, a Greek person is less likely to say, well, I'm not really interested to go to this concert with you. They will probably say, sounds interesting, I will see if I have time for that, and stuff like that.
Όλοι καθίστε λιγάκι, δεν σας είδα καθόλου. Καθίστε, ελάτε.
Όχι, όχι, πέρασε και η ώρα.
Έχεις και εσύ τις δουλειές σου. Καλή, τι δουλειά σου πάτε. Μακάρι να σας είχα κάθε μέρα. Ρε κορίτσια.
Ναι.
Δεν μένετε λιγάκι ακόμα.
Again, I thought that this type of communication and avoiding conflict and all these methods of indirect communication were a universal thing, but apparently they're not. Of course, there are other cultures that do the exact same thing. So again, if you can identify with what I just said, leave a comment in the comment section. Well, these were all the things I could think of today. I hope that you learned something new today about Greece and the Greek culture. And I will see you again on Friday with a video on Greek history. Have a wonderful day or night, and yeah, I will see you again. Bye.